The big news of the day was Mike Vrabel fired as the Tennessee Titans head coach. A rather surprising move in development in Tennessee. 6 seasons and they move on after 2 negative years in a row. Titans ownership has at least taken the blame publicly, although the reporting also tends to back that up as well. Ownership went from late November, we are keeping Mike Vrabel, we love him, he is our guy, to season ends 2 days after, know what? No, he's gone. And that's troubling, by the way. To go, we'll come back to this more in depth on the Tennessee side of it. That's concerning. But I do think that Vrabel will be one of the more targeted head coaches. I think he's going to have basically every gig that's open, minus Tennessee, is going to have interest here. Vrabel, reason being, had 2 11-win seasons with the Tennessee Titans. And the last 2 years haven't gone that great. And look, you can make a claim that some of the blame at minimum for the offensive coaching moves that were made, the quarterback, the injuries, etc., the maybe not being the most player-friendly coach and being very demanding, which I think is a good thing more often than not, that maybe that wasn't all perfect. And he gets some blame for the mistakes that were made. All of that's true. His roster's not good. And I think there was a disconnect in Tennessee between what Vrabel wanted to do, what the rest of the team wanted to do, the organization as a whole, and it led to, you know what, we're going to get a divorce. We'll come back to Tennessee. But for Vrabel, the Patriots immediately linked to him. Obviously, Bill Belichick's status at this point remains uncertain. There's a lack of clarity with what will happen as of filming. Belichick continues to adopt I'm going to go about my business and handle things. He was set to meet again with ownership today. Gerard Mayo had been so heavily linked to that job as the internal replacement, but now Vrabel's available. He's a Patriot legend. Couldn't you just see Robert Kraft taking back his organization, so to speak, and giving the job to a guy who used to play for him? Other NFL teams will have interest in Belichick in the event he comes open, and it feels like in some capacity, these two things are linked. Belichick, Vrabel, etc. The open head coaching jobs. Tennessee, obviously not going to go either direction, I think, for Vrabel or Belichick. The Commanders should call about Vrabel. Conflicting info if they even want Belichick, by the way. Carolina Panthers, they should have interest. The Chargers, if I were Belichick, that's the job I might want to take because you have Herbert in place. The Raiders seem, maybe it's Antonio Pierce or Harbaugh, more on him in a little bit. And the Falcons were very quickly linked, and I'll go briefly here on this. The Falcons, they were linked to Bill Belichick, and their GM wasn't involved in the firing of Arthur Smith. And would you just give Belichick GM powers again too, and make him the second round? And it starts to connect the dots there a little bit. But back to Vrabel. I think he's going to coach somewhere this upcoming season. But where will it be? What NFL head coaching job, if he gets one, will Mike Vrabel have in 2024? It's the pinned comment on today's video, so if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. The Jim Harbaugh rumors are once again back as Michigan has won the national championship, and there's been so many years of, is he going to jump, is he going to go back, he's interviewing, he's not going to take the job, blah, 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 whatever. Multiple teams are going to have interest here. And the timing, it just might be correct for it. You win the national championship. You've done everything you wanted to do. Now you get to jump back to the NFL where you've been flirting with them for how many years now. And kind of like LeBron winning the championship in Cleveland. You go to L.A. now where you wanted to be, whatever, to go ride off for one last time. You could also go back to L.A. too for Harbaugh, funnily enough, which we'll get to here. The timing just might be right. Harbaugh has actually spent more time in Michigan than he has in pretty much all of his previous stops. He went from San Diego to Stanford to the 49ers head coach. Boom, boom, boom. Leaves the Niners with some issues there, not all of which were his fault, by the way. Then, obviously, the pinnacle of college football at Michigan. And several of the jobs that are already open, there are ties here for Harbaugh. The Chargers were linked early on. The Raiders have had flirting interest seemingly the entire time here. When they fired Josh McDaniels, Mark Davis, who are not scared about going after big fish. There's some potential mutual interest there in Chicago and Harbaugh, depending on what they do with Matt Eberflus. The Panthers reached out last year. By the way, played for several of those teams as well. The timing just might be right for Harbaugh, but figuring out which team is a little bit more uncertain. So will Jim Harbaugh jump to the NFL? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me in the comment section right now. Let's check in now on the Tennessee Titans head coaching search as there remains, let's check back in, I suppose I should say. The Titans, reportedly per Diana Rossini, and I think she's got really good sourcing on this one, by the way, thought a Vrabel trade was too complicated and would take too long. And there is some truth to that. You also could have planned this better. And the possibility of maybe missing out on a pick, I think, is a mistake. Now, it is fair to say you might have missed out on your head coach candidate as well. Okay. In the end, all of this search is going to be a results-based, industry. It's all going to be based on, does this work? I think your search has to focus on Will Levis's growth. I think your organizational differences of Vrabel didn't like losing. GM Ran Carthon wanted to kind of take a more longer-term approach and do some rebuilding stuff. All of that's a little bit back and forth here. And it's just kind of dicey from that perspective. So some candidates to watch here. Early candidates in Tennessee. I'm putting my money on Bobby Slowick, the Texans offensive coordinator who was with Ran Carthon in San Francisco, is the offensive mind. I think you have to go that route because hiring a defensive guy, we just fired a really good one, doesn't make much sense to me. I think they'd love Ben Johnson. I don't think that's the job he should take. Brian Callahan, Todd Monken have done some nice things passing game-wise. Could make some sense. Several good defensive coordinator candidates, by the way. The dark horse one is Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz, longtime Titans assistant coach, DC for a long time, has resurged with his time in Cleveland, although it would be maybe slightly uninspiring hiring from that perspective. More coaching rumors to come, but if your team is in the postseason and you're trying to go to one of their playoff games, you got to use GameTime. Or if your team season is over, you've got, music, comedy, theater tickets, and more you can get. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can see the view from your seat before you buy. That way you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. There's flash deals. You can save up to 10% or more on various tickets, even with playoff tickets. Yes, you can get great deals there. And if you want to make a last-minute call to go or not, GameTime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, even an hour afterwards, although, I probably wouldn't go to a playoff game late, but that's just me. Download the GameTime app, create your account, and use code NFLChat for $20 off your first purchase. That's code NFLCHAT for $20 off. The link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's promo code NFLCHAT. One of the seemingly faster-moving jobs right now is the Carolina Panthers gig, so I do want to mention this. They've been a little bit more transparent in their coaching search. They have already announced a list of 9 names. The problem here for Carolina is how appealing really is this job? Is this a top-tier job that's going to make the top coaches want to come when ownership is having issues? There's no first-round pick, and in part because of the dysfunction, Bryce Young looked terrible in year 1. Those are all very valid concerns. Here are the Panthers' interview requests that we know of so far. There could be more coming. Ben Johnson is their dream candidate. They wanted him last year. I think he would demand a massive salary and maybe would be a bit of an anxious move for a first-time head coach. Does he want to run times with Bryce Young? I don't know. Bobby Slowick, Brian Callahan, 2, again, younger offensive minds. Dan Quinn from the Cowboys. Mike McDonald from the Ravens is, I think, the Ben Johnson version of defensive minds right now. Frank Smith, because everyone wants the McVay-Shanahan coaching tree. Raheem Morris is probably due for a second shot, by the way, as a head coach. Todd Monken. I think an underrated name is Dave Canales. They did a lot of good stuff in Tampa this year, even though Baker got a bit banged up down the stretch here. Do make note, in-person interviews cannot begin until January 22nd. They can do virtual ones, but the in-person stuff has been pushed back by the NFL. So as of right now, there are 6 open head coaching jobs, right? Tennessee, Washington, Carolina, LA, Las Vegas, and Atlanta. So will any more head coaching gigs open? We're past Black Monday. We're sitting this here in the middle of Taco Tuesday. Will Wing Wednesday feature some firings? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Sound off for me in the comments section. Now, a couple jobs to watch here, and I'll group these in groups of 2. New England and Chicago. If they made coaching changes, would anyone be that surprised? The Bears have been really up and down. They kind of rallied late, but are you really going to tie? You're kind of not so. You're concerning coaches after the number 1 overall pick and then reset for a year. That's very concerning. The Patriots are heading in the wrong direction. Eagles and Cowboys, fair or not, the expectation is playoff runs. If those don't happen, what do? There's been some speculation reporting as to could Mike Tomlin and or Pete Carroll step away? Could they, Pete Carroll says he wants to keep coaching. How long will he do? I think Seattle's the least likely on this list, by the way. The Schefter keeps saying Mike Tomlin might decide to take a little break there. That would be a suddenly surprisingly open job. So maybe 2 or 3 at most of these jobs actually come open, but I did want to mention them. If you have not already, please make sure you are subscribed for more free NFL YouTube videos right here on the channel, youtube.com/chatsportstv.